Now I'd like to call on our conference keynote speaker, Assistant Professor Kiana Frank of the Pacific Biosciences Research Center at UH Manoa. Kiana?
Aloha kakahiaka kako. Today we're here to discuss Hawaii and our collective commitment to restore resilient and sustainable practices built on renewed connection and a deep understanding of our island's most valuable resource, to ensure clean and abundant water resources for our children, grandchildren, and all the generations 800 years and beyond. As we look forward to that future, we should look to the wisdom of our ancestors, Ikawama Muakawama Hope, to help us find solutions to some of our contemporary challenges. Our ancestral technologies are the proven models of sustainability that we should emulate as contemporary innovation. Innovation is restoration. By restoring our indigenous systems of practice, we gain access to thousands of years of research and development from a people who have proven that regenerative thinking is possible. So as we open this conference, we start Nana Ike Kumu, looking to the source and acknowledging the deep genealogy of Vai.
When space turned around, the earth heated. When space turned over, the sky reversed. When the sun appeared standing in the shadows to cause light to make bright the moon. When the Pleiades are small eyes in the night. From the source in the slime, earth formed. From the source in the dark, darkness formed. From the source in the night, from the depths of the darkness, darkness so deep. Darkness of day, darkness of night. Of night alone did night. Born Kumulipo in the night. Born Po'ele in the night.
So this is my dansical interpretation of the first va or stanza of the Kumulipo, one of our source genealogical chants. The Kumulipo aligns us to the epistemological view of the native Hawaiian people. It orients us in space, time, and realms of knowledge. Starting from darkness and emerging into the light, the Kumulipo describes the evolution of life forms from simple to more complex, paralleling Darwinian evolution. When we interpret the Kumulipo from a different lens, it describes the birth of our waters and the formation of our aquifers. O ke kane hua vai akua ke na. The Kumulipo describes the impact of these growing waters on our aina, affecting Earth's thermal and seismic properties, controlling differentiation, plate tectonics, and volcanism, which in turn influence the development of Earth's atmospheres, the oceans, and led to the evolution of life. At its core, the Kumulipo is about pilina, relationships, and our deep-held pilina between aina, the land, Akua, the elements, and Kanaka, the people, built the foundation for Hawaii's thriving abundance, supporting roughly the same populations as today, hundreds of years ago, in lands fat with water and ripe with food. And this abundance was perpetuated by conscientious management practices built on the foundation of kilo. Kilo are deep physical observations and connections to place, allowed a keen understanding of how the environment affects all the cycles of life around it. A refined kilo of the elements like kane, who's more than just fresh water, but also flow, movement, penetration, and energy. And Kanaloa, stability, abundance, health, and the ocean, allowed our kupuna to enhance the natural ecosystem services of our island and cultivate abundance to feed our people. It was deeply understood that water is the source of all life and provider of abundance. Kane kawai ola. This ike wai, this knowledge of water, was so important, it was held sacred to our people. It was encoded through anthropomorphism in our stories and chants to ensure the succession from one generation to the next. Our mo'olelo of Kane and Kanaloa highlight traditional knowledge of subsurface hydrology. Kane, he's essentially a geophysicist. He has the ability to hear water moving in the subsurface. Much like our modern seismic techniques today, he has the capacity to identify where water is in the aquifer, how it flows, and can differentiate between fresh and salt water. Our oral histories remind us that life on our islands was abundant because water was everywhere, from all sources, in all directions, and within. So as we start our day reflecting on sources, I ask you, where is the water of Kane? E ui akuana au ya oi, aia I hea I ka vai a Kane. Knowing your water means knowing yourself, your past, your present, and securing your future. I want to share with you the great waters of Kauai Nui that grew me in the moku of Ko'olaupoko and the ahupua'a of Kailua. Ahupua'a are sophisticated land management units that run from mountain to sea and were designed to maximize biodiversity and the biological resource potential. In the ahupua'a of Kailua, it was once one of the most productive food baskets in the state. Our mountain forests were lush and pristine, enabling us to gather the Puakea rain and let it percolate into our groundwater aquifers and burst forth at Pikoakea Spring. As the water flowed downstream, it branched into systems of irrigation ditches called auwai to feed our lo'i. Lo'i are important ancestral agricultural technologies for intensified crop production of taro, and they require an abundant flow of cool, fresh water. Upon exiting, this now enriched, nutrient-enriched vai is returned to the source waters to ensure quantities as it continues to flow towards the ocean. It is here at Kauai Nui where ocean meets land and Kawaia Kane is released into the realms of Kanaloa. Our kupuna enhanced the inherent productivity of these coastal mixing zones by developing fish ponds, or lokoi'a. Lokoi'a are innovative aquaculture technologies engineered to manage the mixing of nutrient-rich freshwater and ocean water. These groundwater-dependent ecosystems promoted the growth of photosynthetic microbes and algae to cultivate an abundance of herbivorous fish. Kauai Nui was estimated to have produced about 500,000 pounds of fish per year. It is these mo'olelo of Kauai Nui, the lepo'ai'ia, the edible mud, and the makalei, the fish-attracting branch, that shaped my ecological inquiry and my exploration of Kauai Nui, experiencing it through play to relive these mo'olelo, developed my kilo and fueled my passion for science. Encoded within these mo'olelo are descriptions of what a healthy Kauai Nui ecosystem looks like, how it functions, and even how to restore it back to balance should it be disturbed. In the mo'olelo of Makalei, the imagery of a little boy leading all the fish of Kauai underground to reside in a pond up Mauka in the back of Maunawili alludes to the geological structuring of our Kailua subsurface. The depiction of our akua, Haumea, as the Makalei, the fish-attracting branch, and seen here in her form as Hauahine, a mo'o, or a dragon protector of these places, represents the physical connection between source and sea, connecting past and present, preserving our legacy, and reminding us of how important it is to protect sources of productivity. The mo'olelo of Makalei teaches us that sustainability and resilience can only be achieved when communities come together to care for land, care for their waters, care for the people, the responsibilities, and their legacy. Kauai Nui is no longer the thriving lokoi'a of my kupuna. It's called a marsh now, clogged with invasive grasses and sedges, preventing that connectivity from Kane to Kanaloa. And that's why I chose a career in research. I use science as a mechanism to connect to my spaces, to better understand it, to malama aina, and help to restore the flow of wai and bring the vai back to ecosystems that are so important to our people. So as collaborators here with the same mission, we have the opportunity, the obligation to deploy frameworks that build upon this deep ancestral knowledge. By integrating contemporary tools to decode the wisdom of our ancestors, we unlock access to thousands of years of scientific data. By integrating and applying contemporary tools grounded in the values of our kupuna, we can better kilo our environments in the context of today to best support decision-making, management, and policy development. By restoring our indigenous systems of practice, we can innovatively apply them to bring the vai and regenerate that back to our ecosystems. I integrate contemporary technologies of geochemistry, molecular biology, microbiology to these frameworks in order to decode the ike of our kupuna, monitor our environment, and advise management. Because kane kawai ola, not only is water the source of life, but water is living life, and it is teeming with life. Microbes are our akua. They are the unseen mediators of geochemical processes and ecosystem services that shape the productivity of our aina from Mauka to Makai. As our kupuna managed water, they managed the microbes. And even today, we can see how the application of our indigenous practices still cultivate unique communities of microorganisms. Utilizing contemporary techniques of microbiology, we can decode why management was used in particular places so we can best apply it today. We can constrain biological processes for productivity. We can model resilience of ecosystems in the context of a changing environment. And we can assess and mitigate microbial pathogenic threats. Microbes are the physiological representation of pilina between aina, akua, and kanaka. I could keep talking about this all day, but I want to wrap this up in the most Kiana way possible by sharing a dance that highlights how I deploy my work within these frameworks. Nitrogen is a very important nutrient in the fish pond. The forms of nitrogen in the environment are nitrogen gas, ammonia, nitrate, and nitrite. It is cycled by both biological and chemical processes through nitrate reduction, nitrogen fixation, denitrification, and nitrification. The amount of nitrogen in the fish pond influences the rate of limu growth as well as decomposition. When Meheanu visits in mo'o form, her urine causes the hau to turn yellow because of increasing ammonia concentrations. This increase in nitrogen causes a bloom in the phytoplankton that the baby pua'ama like to eat. The fish are then well taken care of and guarded by Kia'i Meheanu, resulting in a thriving local i'a. The story of Meheanu portrays the nitrogen cycle of He'eia Fish Pond. So as we flow into our discussions and panels today, I want to remind you all to always nana I ke kumu, look to the source within the source on Aina, because as our kupuna knew, when the source of the water is dirty, muddy water will be seen on the lowlands. Kalepo ke kumu vai, e Hawaii ana I kalepo I kai. Mahalo.